Hello and welcome to the Wright Know Your Money podcast. I'm Ashley Smith.
And I'm Tom Richards.
On the Know Your Money podcast, we talk about everything from financial planning tips to how what's going on in the world around you affects the money in your wallet and most importantly, your financial future.
If this podcast helps you in any way, please like and subscribe so that we can help as many people as possible moving forwards. On this episode, we're going to be talking about inflation. It's in the news, it's everywhere at the moment. So, Ash, could you very quickly just explain what is inflation?
Yes, so very simply, inflation is the increase in the cost of living over a 12-month period. The figure we hear about the most in our news feeds is called the Consumer Prices Index, or CPI for short. This figure is calculated every month by the Office of National Statistics by comparing the cost of 700 items that people like you and I regularly buy, from bread all the way through to cars. Once the items have all been price checked, they're then compared to the prices exactly 12 months ago, and the change in price is known as inflation. To use a very simple example, if a loaf of bread costs £1 in January 2021 and then it costs £1.10 in January 2022, the inflationary increase on that loaf of bread is 10p or 10%. Because inflation is measuring the change in prices over a 12-month period, prices don't actually need to come down for inflation to fall. In fact, if prices do fall year on year, this is known as deflation, but we can come on to that in a little moment. The example there I would give is if that same loaf of bread that cost £1 in 2021 and then £1.10 in 2022 still costs £1.10 in 2023, the inflation is £0, 0 pence. And that's because the price has been exactly the same from January 2022 to January 2023.
Brilliant, thank you very much, Ash. So the next question I've got is inflation the same for everyone, or does it differ for who you are, what business you're in?
Yeah, so inflation can be quite different, even for friends, family members, neighbours. A very simple example again that I can give here is something like the cost of fuel. So if you have a large 4x4 and you're driving 40,000 miles per year, and the price of fuel is higher than all the other measures or all the other items in the Consumer Prices Index, your inflation would be much higher than someone driving, say, 10,000 miles a year in a much smaller fuel-efficient car.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you. So the next question is, how does inflation actually impact me?
Okay, so now we've gone through what inflation is, it's a good question to actually understand how it impacts you personally. So if the costs of products or services that you regularly purchase are going up, unless your income is increasing in line with that, you're going to see the purchasing power of your money coming down. So to give an example here, I'll stick with that loaf of bread. When that bread cost you £1 per loaf, you could get 10 loaves for £10. If that bread is now costing £1.10p per loaf, that same £10, so the amount hasn't changed there, but it can now only buy you 9 loaves of bread. So whilst that difference may seem small, may seem a little bit irrelevant, what is one less loaf of bread? If you extrapolate that out across all the things that you buy, or even all 700 items in the Consumer Prices Index, you can see how that can quickly add up and reduce the purchasing power of your income. Not only does it make the income you receive less valuable, it also affects the real value of your savings as well. So if you've got £100 in your bank account and you've still got £100 there this time next year, if the cost of living has gone up, you can buy less with that £100.
Brilliant. And it's very easy to see why inflation gets such a bad name, especially when it's as high as it is at the moment. Is there such thing as good inflation?
Yeah, so actually having some inflation is seen as quite positive for an economy. Here in the UK, for example, we target 2% per year. When considering why we want some inflation in the economy, it's first worth looking at the opposite, deflation, which is where prices are falling. So whilst it sounds great that prices are going down and every day you wake up the price is a little bit less for those items that you want to buy, it actually can become quite damaging, especially if it's non-essential items that are falling in price. So if you were to wake up every day and the items that you wanted to go out and buy were cheaper, and you knew that actually if you wait another day or a week or a month or 6 months or a year, it would be even cheaper still, it would get into quite a nasty cycle where you wouldn't actually go out and spend any money. Okay, if you're not going out and spending money, you're not buying products, you're not paying for services. Ultimately, companies won't need to produce those products, they won't need to provide those services. That in turn leads to job losses, and that cycle just keeps continuing. A little bit of inflation, therefore, actually encourages you to go out and spend. Certainly if your income is rising in line with that inflation rate, if inflation is 1-2%, and you know that actually if I go out and buy something today, or if I leave it 12 months, it will be slightly more expensive in 12 months, it will encourage you to go out and spend that money today. In doing that, if it's encouraging you to go out and spend, it's creating jobs, it's keeping companies profitable, and then wages will usually be able to rise at a similar rate to inflation. It's also worth noting as well, anyone with debt or a mortgage actually benefits from a small amount of inflation, especially if their income is increasing with that inflation as well. So assuming that the rate on your debt or your mortgage is fixed and you have the same payment month on month, year on year, as your income starts to go up, that debt as a percentage of your income, how much it costs relative to all the money that comes into the household, is actually lower.
That's great, thank you. So could you now explain how we factor in inflation into the process of building a financial plan for a client? How do we view inflation, and how do we plan for the future?
Yes, so at Howard Wright, as you could imagine, we always take inflation into account. It's really, really important that we do that. The main reason for it is if we were to look at somebody's targets today, and let's say their target is to have about £1,000 per month in retirement, that £1,000 in 10, 20, 30, 40 years won't buy anywhere near what it could buy today for all the reasons we've already discussed. So when we build the financial plan, we always account for inflation within there. If we didn't, even if it was just a tiny minimal amount of inflation, let's say 1% per year, if it's over a 20, 30, 40 year period, that 1%, even non-compounded over 30 years, it's 30%, over 40 years, it's 40%, and it could really impact then your retirement plans. Here at Howard Wright, we help our clients target long-term growth above inflation to protect and enhance the real value of their savings, whilst targeting their longer and shorter term financial goals. If you'd like to speak to me or any of the chartered financial planners here at Howard Wright, please contact us on the links below or visit us at www.howardwright.co.uk. Thank you for listening to the Howard Wright Know Your Money podcast. I've been Ashley Smith.
And I've been Tom Richards.
If you're watching this on YouTube, please like and subscribe and share on your socials. If you're listening to us on Apple Music or Spotify, drop us a follow and leave us a review.
And most importantly, stay tuned for future episodes.
This recording contains information from sources believed to be reliable, but no guarantee, warranty or representation express or implied is given to its accuracy. Howard Wright does not undertake any obligation to update or revise any future statements. Past performance is not a reliable indicator of future results. Investments can go down as well as up, and actual results could differ materially from those anticipated. This recording is for the information purposes only and has no regard to the specific investment objectives or financial situation of any individual. The information contained in this recording is not intended to constitute and should not be construed as investment or financial advice. Appropriate personalised advice should always be taken before entering into any transactions. No responsibility can be accepted for any loss arising from action taken or refrain from being taken based on this publication. Howard Wright is authorised and regulated by the Financial Conduct Authority.